Hi everyone. Today we are going to take a look at how to play Cholas. Before we begin, let me give you all a small brief about one of the longest ruling dynasties in the world, Cholas. They ruled from 3rd century BCE to the 13th century AD. The Chola kings were great connoisseurs of art and architecture. They built several temples during their reign, many of which still stand even today. Now, the motive of this game is that the Chola king invites 5 sculptors from across his kingdom to build a temple that will stand out for centuries to come. Upon his invitation, each sculptor brings stones from their respective region to build the temple. These stones are known to have a unique property which brings pride to the sculpture and his region. The king will then identify the sculptor that fares the best at building and sculpting the temple based on the most points and rewards received. Now, let me quickly take you over the components of the game. This is the board, which has to be assembled in the following manner. This is the scoreboard, which will be placed next to the main board. This is the sculpture board, which will be used in the expert variant, which I will explain to you in a minute. These are the wagons for 5 players in 5 different colors. These here are the build cards. There are 54 cards in total. These are the stones of 5 different colors that will be used in the game. There are 2 types of bonus cards which will be used in the expert variant. These are the player markers. These are the reward points tokens, which are double-sided. These are the sculpture tiles with points ranging from 1 to 3 and 5 to 9. This is the rule book. And lastly, this is the bag which is used for the stones. Cholas is a 1 to 5 player game. Now let's take a look at the expert variant of the game. When setting up the sculpture board, remove 5 square tiles of the same value from the game and shuffle the remaining 20 tiles. Shuffle the 3-pointer rectangular tiles. Now shuffle the 2-pointer rectangular tiles. Now randomly arrange the tiles face up one by one, starting from the base of the sculpture board. When arranging the sculpture tiles, Ensure that the position and placement of the 1-pointer, 2-pointer, 3-pointer tiles and the big square tiles are as per the arrangement shown on the sculpture board, with the cost of the sculpture visible on the top. The player who last visited a historical monument starts the game and turns continue clockwise. Now, each player picks a unique stone color of their choice representing the stone from the region and gets 6 markers each of that color. One marker is placed by each player on the scoreboard at the starting position. Based on the color picked, each player then gets a wagon, and the remaining 5 markers are placed on level 0 of their wagon. Each player gets 5 stones, 1 of each color. Going clockwise from the starting player, each player picks 2 stones at random from the bag and places them in front. Shuffle the bill cards and keep them face down next to the game board. Each player then gets 2 bill cards. Players shall not reveal the bill cards they hold during the game. Now, keep as many bill cards face up next to the stack as per the number of players. For example, 4 cards are kept face up in a 4-player game. Now, shuffle the 6 red and blue bonus cards and deal 1 of each to the players. The remaining cards are then discarded from the game. Now, each player reveals their bonus cards by reading out the bonus card description and keeping them face up in front. Each player should be aware of the bonus cards of the other players, as it would be relevant to the action performed during a turn. During the turn, you can do one of these 5 actions. The first one is draw. You may pick a build card either from the face up or the top card from the face down stack. When a card from the face up is drawn, then immediately a card from the face down stack is replaced. A point to be noted here is that no player can hold more than 4 cards at any given point of time during the game. Now, the next action you can do is build. Following the rules of building, the player shall place stones which are in possession on the temple structure as per the build card in any orientation, provided the placement logic matches with the build card. The card is then discarded from the game. The rules for building are simple. You may start to build only from the bottom of the temple tower. You cannot place where there are no stones to support. After the build action is completed, points are immediately calculated. You gain 1 point for each stone placed which is not your stone. Based on the stones you build, the king also rewards you with as many stones on the wagon of that respective color you placed. Now, the stones that you gain on your wagon are used during the sculpt action, which I will explain really soon. Now, the next action that you can do is pick, wherein you randomly pick 2 stones from the bag and place them in front of you. At no given point during the game, a player may hold more than 7 stones, which also means that when you have 6 stones in hand, you cannot perform the pick action. The next action that you can do during your turn is replace. You may return 3 or more stones of the same color to the bag and then pick the same number of stones from the bag. Now let's take a look at an example of a build action with 4 stones. Patterns are formed using any stone color when 3 or more stones are placed diagonally, vertically, or horizontally. The gold player receives 4 points for the pattern. The brown player receives 4 points for the pattern plus 2 points for the stones placed, and since it's a double treasure, which means 6 points are doubled into 12. The stones are then moved on the wagon as per the number of stones placed. The fifth action that you can perform is called the sculpt. You can perform the sculpt action provided that particular space on the board is filled with stones and you can pay the cost of that particular sculpture tile. The cost of the sculpture tile can be paid by a combination of returning the number of stones matching the color to the bag, or by moving the marker matching the color on the wagon to the left by as many positions. The marker cannot be moved beyond the level 0 position. You gain points as mentioned on the sculpture tile. The game end is triggered when the temple structure is built and sculpted completely, or when one player is unable to perform any one of the 4 actions, which is pick, draw, build, or sculpt.